Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. This story begins with spilled wine. I didn't mean to knock over the wine glass. I swear I didn't. But when someone bumps into your elbow while you're trying to balance a tiny paper plate full of mystery canapes and shrimp skewers, gravity tends to win. The red splash hit the guy's shirt like a slow-motion disaster. His pale pink button-up bloomed into a blotchy maroon mess, right over the chest pocket where his company ID badge hung. He looked down at the stain, then up at me, slow, calculated, annoyed. I opened my mouth to apologize. "You're Lorraine's husband, right?" He interrupted, brushing his chest with a napkin like he was removing a dead bug. "Yeah, this checks out." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" He didn't answer. He just smirked, tossed the crumpled napkin onto the buffet table, and walked off without another word. I didn't even know his name yet, but I hated him instantly. This was supposed to be Lorraine's big night. Her division had just closed some major account, and her firm was celebrating like they'd invented money. Crystal chandeliers, live jazz, champagne towers, and a guest list full of people who pronounced schedule with 3 syllables. Everyone looked like they belonged on a magazine cover. Except me, and apparently they all knew it. I tried to stay out of the way, found a quiet corner by the dessert table where I could pretend to enjoy the view of the skyline through the window. That's when I noticed Lorraine, laughing, with him, Mr. Stain's shirt. Only now he'd changed into a backup one. Jet black, rolled sleeves, confident posture like he'd just walked off a GQ shoot. She was touching his arm. He was whispering something in her ear, and I just stood there, watching, holding my half-empty glass of seltzer like it was a lifeline. I'd asked her earlier that week if she really wanted me to come. She'd said, "Of course, you're my husband." But now, I felt like background noise, filler, an afterthought she was obligated to include because someone asked if she was bringing a +1. People kept brushing past me. No one made eye contact. Someone called me Ethan, even though my name is Marshall. I didn't correct them. What was the point? Later that night, Mr. Stain's shirt found me again. "Hey man," he said, grinning like we were old friends. "Lorraine's lucky. Not many guys would be cool with this kind of setup." I stared. "What setup?" He winked, laughed, walked away. My pulse started thumping. I turned to find Lorraine. She was gone. What setup? What the hell was he talking about? That was the moment it all started slipping. And trust me, it only gets worse from here. The car ride home was quieter than I expected. Lorraine sat beside me scrolling through her phone, the occasional glow from the screen lighting up her expressionless face. I had so many questions, but I asked none of them, because that's what I do. I swallow things down and pretend it's fine. Pretend I didn't just watch my wife flirt with a man who smirked at me like I was some sad pet she brought along out of pity. When we got home, she said she was tired and went straight to bed. I stayed in the kitchen pretending to clean the counter while my thoughts circled like vultures. What did he mean by this kind of setup? Why did she laugh with him like that? Why did she let him mock me in front of her colleagues? I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at nothing, trying to convince myself that I was overreacting. That Chaz, yeah, I finally found out his name through a tagged photo on the firm's Instagram, was just a harmless creep. But it wasn't harmless, was it? There's something about how casually he treated me, like he knew something I didn't, something I wasn't supposed to find out. The next morning, Lorraine was already gone before I woke up. She left a note on the counter. "Early meeting. Didn't want to wake you. Love you." 3 words. "Love you," typed, not handwritten. I should have let it go. But I didn't. I opened her laptop. I've never done that before. We respect each other's privacy, or at least I thought we did. But something about last night had scratched a part of my brain raw, and now I couldn't stop. Her email was still open, and there were several unread messages, all work-related except one. One stood out. Subject: "Last night fire." I froze. The sender? Chaz. I clicked it, hands shaking. "Still laughing at that wine stunt face with tears of joy, tell your +1. I owe him a dry cleaning bill. Or maybe you can just make it up to me over drinks this Friday. Usual spot?" I stared at the screen for a full minute, like the words would rearrange themselves into something more innocent. They didn't. They never do. It wasn't just the message. It was how comfortable he was. The emoji. The usual spot. The fact that he didn't even bother hiding it. Like he knew I wouldn't see it. Or like he knew she'd never let me close enough to. I didn't confront her that day. I didn't scream or throw her laptop. I simply closed the lid, walked to the bedroom, and sat on the bed. And then, I cried. Not because of the email. Not even because of Chaz. But because deep down, I think I'd known for months. Maybe longer. I just didn't want it to be true. But now I had a thread. And I was going to pull it. Every inch of it. Until the whole thing unraveled. The day after reading Chaz's email, I floated through the hours like a ghost in my own life. I answered client calls, nodded through video meetings, even responded to Slack messages like nothing was wrong. But everything felt fake. My chair was too stiff, the coffee too bitter, and the silence in our apartment felt like it was watching me. Every sound, the hum of the fridge, the ticking clock, even the rustle of the leaves outside, felt louder than it should have. Like the world knew something I didn't. Lorraine came home late that evening, smelling like white wine and department store perfume. She kissed the top of my head, not the lips, then disappeared into the bathroom. I heard the shower run. The sound of water hitting tile should have felt normal, comforting even. But instead, it made me think of erasing evidence. She used to tell me everything. We'd stay up late, talking about nonsense. Dumb YouTube videos, the neighbor's weird dog, dreams she'd had that made no sense. Now, she barely looked at me. Her phone never left her hand. And when it did, it was face down. I didn't want to be that guy. Paranoid, sneaking around, second-guessing every smile. But I was already halfway down the rabbit hole, and I knew I'd go insane if I didn't get answers. So when she finally fell asleep, turned away from me, breathing steady and slow, I crept out of bed and opened her laptop again. She had changed her password. That was the moment something inside me cracked. 4 years, her password had been Marshall0921. My name and our anniversary. She'd used it for everything. Now, gone. Replaced. Hidden. She never mentioned it. I stared at the login screen like it had personally betrayed me. Then I opened my own laptop. It started innocently. Google searches. Signs your spouse is cheating. Workplace affairs. What to do when your wife emotionally disconnects. The articles were bleak. Too relatable. It was like someone had watched our life from a hidden camera and turned it into bullet points. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. Instead, I created a fake email. Then a fake LinkedIn profile. I knew Lorraine hated social media, said it was a waste of time, but her company was all over LinkedIn and so was Chaz. His profile was loaded with pictures of speaking events, charity galas, and, of course, office parties. I scrolled, and then I found it. A group photo from a rooftop mixer 2 months ago. Lorraine, standing beside him, drink in hand, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me in a very long time. His arm was around her waist. The caption read, "Building better relationships. Inside and outside the boardroom winking face." My stomach dropped. The photo was public. Not hidden. Not restricted. Just out there for anyone to see. Anyone but me, apparently. She never told me about that event. I remember now. She said it was a late-night client dinner. That wasn't a dinner. That was a night out with him. Still, I needed more. Proof. Evidence. Not just gut feelings and sleepless nights. Something undeniable. And if I was going to survive this emotionally, I had to stop pretending I wasn't already drowning. I was ready to uncover the truth. But what I didn't know was that the truth wasn't hiding anymore. It was waiting. I used to think betrayal would come like a thunderstorm. Loud, crashing, impossible to ignore. But for me, it crept in like a quiet draft under a locked door, slowly chilling everything I believed was safe. That's what made it worse. It didn't scream. It whispered. The next morning, Lorraine acted like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek, said she had a client lunch, and reminded me not to forget to water the plants. I nodded, gripping my coffee cup a little too tight. She was gone within minutes, high heels clacking confidently down the hallway like she had nothing to hide. I stood by the window and waited. I watched her walk to her car, watched her check her reflection in the side mirror, then drive off without glancing back. And that's when I did it. Her tablet. She always left it in the living room, charging overnight. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before. Maybe part of me didn't want to cross that line. But I was way past lines now. I was halfway across the minefield. No password. Just a swipe and I was in. Her emails weren't synced, but her text messages were. She must have set it up once and forgotten. There were hundreds of threads, most boring, many work-related. But one stood out. Not because of the content at first, but because of the name. J. Just that. A single letter. Like a code. I opened it. The first message was weeks old. Missed you today. My throat tightened. Another. Can't stop thinking about what you said in the elevator. And another. Friday's still on, right? I'll make sure he's distracted. You wear that lipstick. I stopped breathing. The messages weren't overly graphic. There was nothing explicitly intimate. But the undertone. It was there. Every word was soaked in familiarity, in secrecy, in something I had been left out of entirely. I scrolled back, trying to find something more direct, something undeniable, and then I saw it. A photo. Not revealing, but not innocent either. Lorraine at a wine bar, head tilted, smile lazy, straw in her mouth. The kind of look she used to give me when we first started dating, back when she still looked at me like I mattered. Below it, the message. This smile's only for you. Don't make me wait. My hands started to shake. I dropped the tablet onto the couch like it had burned me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there in a silence so heavy it pressed into my chest like a weight I couldn't lift. I needed to know who Jay was. I went back through her contacts. Most names were normal, full, identifiable. But then I found it, buried between a dry cleaner and her yoga studio. The contact listed simply as J, attached to a number with no photo. Copied it, pasted it into Google, and there it was. Chaz's full name, Jordan Chaswick, J. Of course. I leaned back into the couch and stared at the ceiling, the pieces finally snapping into place like the end of a cruel puzzle. This wasn't a flirtation. This wasn't harmless. This was planned. Ongoing, hidden in plain sight, and suddenly I realized. The wine glass I spilled at the party? It hadn't been an accident. It had been the first crack in a carefully painted mask. And I was about to rip the whole thing off. The weirdest part about betrayal is how quiet it is. No explosions. No sirens. Just a numb stillness. Like the world paused for a breath it never released. I sat there on the couch for over an hour, staring at Lorraine's tablet, replaying every fake smile, every late meeting, every moment she said, "I love you," while someone else held her attention. And suddenly, the silence in our apartment didn't feel like peace anymore. It felt like a carefully staged crime scene. Everything spotless, everything placed just right. And me, the idiot husband, walking through it with wide, trusting eyes. I didn't storm into her office. I didn't send Chaz or Jordan, apparently, some fiery text. I didn't scream or cry. Not yet. What I did was worse. I waited. That weekend, Lorraine said she needed to clear her head and visit her sister upstate. I nodded like a good husband should, kissed her cheek, and told her to drive safe. Her suitcase was already packed in the trunk. It took everything in me not to open it, to see if she had packed lingerie she hadn't worn around me in months. But I didn't need to. I already knew where she was going. And it wasn't her sister's. Once she left, I started moving like a man possessed. I wasn't thinking clearly, but I was thinking strategically. I pulled up our shared calendar, the one she forgot I had synced to my phone. There it was, a lunch meeting on Monday. The location, a wine bar downtown. The same one from the picture she sent Jay. Not a client meeting. Not a work thing. Them. I felt my chest tighten. Not from heartbreak, but from something else. Calculation. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to plead. I wanted the truth, raw and ugly, shoved in her face where she couldn't dodge it. So I called my friend Ezra. He owed me. Years ago, I'd helped him cover up a disastrous breakup with his now wife. Long story, but he was good with tech, cameras, and staying invisible. I told him everything, every grimy detail. He didn't even ask questions. Monday, he said, I'll be there with gear. You'll get everything. Video, audio. You want it in 4K or humiliation mode? I laughed, but it came out more like a cough. Sunday night, Lorraine called from her hotel room. The background was too quiet to be her sister's place. No kids screaming, no dogs barking, just soft jazz and room service clinks. Miss you, she said, her voice sugary. Miss you too. I lied. She didn't ask how I was doing. Didn't ask about the house or if I'd eaten or if I was sleeping okay. She said she had to go, something about a face mask and an early morning jog. I told her good night and hung up. I didn't sleep. Again. Instead, I typed. I wrote down everything. Every suspicion. Every message. Every expression I'd ignored. I started organizing a folder with evidence. Not because I wanted to blackmail her. I didn't want to destroy her. I just wanted her to see herself the way I now did. On Monday, Ezra set up his spot across the street from the wine bar with a zoom lens and discreet mic relay. I sat in my car a block away, hands sweating against the steering wheel, heart beating like it was counting down to detonation. Part of me wanted her to cancel, to not show, to give me a reason to back down and call this all paranoia. But she walked in, right on time, wearing that same smile from the photo. And 15 seconds later, Chaz walked in too. He didn't touch her. Not right away. But their body language told the whole story. I didn't need the audio. I didn't need anything else. She leaned in. He brushed her hair behind her ear. She laughed. And just like that, I knew. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was someone else's fantasy. And I had become the background character in my own life. I didn't go inside the wine bar. I didn't need to. Watching them through Ezra's camera feed was enough. The way she leaned in when she laughed. The way he rested his hand a little too long on the back of her chair. There was no hesitation in her touch. No nervous glance over her shoulder. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This was comfort. Rehearsed. Familiar. And somehow that felt worse than any heated affair. It meant she had chosen this. Again and again. I drove home slowly, like I was afraid of what I might do if I moved too fast. The anger wasn't explosive anymore. It had cooled into something sharp, focused, the kind of emotion that doesn't scream, it plans. And I knew I had to do something more than just confront her. I wanted her to see it, to feel it, the weight of the lie, the quiet destruction she left in her wake. So I spent the rest of that day working on the package. Ezra sent me the footage by that evening. High-res, clean audio, time-stamped. It wasn't tabloid scandal material, but it was damning in its own way. The familiarity, the way she touched his hand while he spoke, the way they both laughed like nothing else existed. It was enough. More than enough. I printed stills, selected frames that told the story without needing sound. I placed them in order like a storyboard from a silent movie, a love story that wasn't mine. Then I wrote a note. Not a rant. Not an insult. Just a few lines. You looked happy. I almost didn't recognize you. But thank you for finally showing me the truth. That was it. No signature. No accusation. I packed the prints and the note in a plain envelope and slid it inside the drawer she always opened first when she got home. The one where she kept her keys, lip balm, and earbuds. I didn't need a dramatic confrontation. I didn't want to see her cry or hear excuses. I just wanted her to come home thinking it was another day she could pretend. And find that instead. She returned late, well after dark. I heard her heels in the hallway, the rustle of her coat, the familiar jingle of her keys. I stayed in the bedroom with the door cracked, just enough to hear. She opened the drawer. Silence. Then paper rustling. Then footsteps, slow, careful, toward the bedroom. Marshall, she called out, voice tight, almost too calm. What is this? I didn't answer. I wanted her to say more. She stepped into the doorway, holding the photos like they were burning her hands. "Why would you do this?" I looked at her, really looked. Her face was pale, but her eyes were defensive, like I had betrayed her. "You lied," I said softly, "and you got comfortable doing it." She shook her head. "It's not what it looks like." That line. The one they always use. "I didn't need it to look like anything," I replied. I let the camera tell the story. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Just stood there, clutching the envelope, mouth slightly open, as if searching for a script she didn't prepare for. Her confidence cracked. And in that silence, I realized something. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of being exposed. "You were never supposed to see that," she finally whispered. And that was the most honest thing she'd said all year. She stood there for what felt like minutes, frozen in the doorway, the envelope in her hands like a live wire she didn't know how to drop. Her breathing was shallow, and I could see it in her eyes. Not guilt, not sorrow, calculation. She wasn't scrambling to win me back. She was recalculating her losses, damage control mode, and that somehow hurt even more than the affair. "I wasn't going to tell you," she finally said, her voice eerily calm, "because I knew this would happen. This," she gestured between us, "this explosion, this drama. You always overthink everything, Marshall." I laughed, not because anything was funny, but because the audacity of that sentence just split something open in me. I had been dissecting every word she said for weeks, blaming myself, wondering if I had been paranoid or insecure. And now she was trying to flip the script, make me the problem again, make me the overthinker. "No," I said, standing up. "You didn't tell me because you knew you'd already chosen him, and you didn't want to face the consequences of that choice. You wanted both, the comfort of a quiet husband and the thrill of your office soap opera." She didn't deny it. That silence, her only honest response. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked her dead in the eye and said, "So now what?" That's when she surprised me. Not with tears, not with apologies, but with something far colder. "I think we need a break." A break. As if what she'd done wasn't a fracture but a scheduling conflict. As if we were just two roommates deciding to spend weekends apart. And then she added, "I'll stay with Maya for a while. She's already offered." Maya, her coworker, her supposed alibi from that weekend. I nearly choked on the irony. "You had this planned," I whispered. "You knew I'd find out eventually. You just wanted to control when." She didn't respond. Instead, she walked to the closet and began pulling clothes into a duffel bag. Like this was a routine she'd already rehearsed. I watched her in silence, my stomach folding in on itself. She moved like someone packing for a business trip, not walking out of a marriage. No tears, no regret, just efficiency. I almost let her go without another word. Almost, but something in me snapped. Not anger, clarity. "You're not sorry," I said. She stopped zipping the bag and glanced over her shoulder. "Of course I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far." That's when it hit me. Her apology, it wasn't for me. It wasn't about me. It was for herself. To soothe her own guilt. To tell herself she hadn't become the villain. Because in her head, she was still the overworked woman who slipped. Not the partner who systematically erased me from her world. "You don't get to rewrite this," I said, my voice shaking but sure. "You don't get to walk out of here like this is some mutual decision. You cheated. You lied. You humiliated me. And now you want a break? No. You want freedom? Take it. But don't expect me to sit here and wait like a background character in the movie of your life." She looked at me like I was a stranger, like she couldn't believe I had a spine. I opened the front door, not slamming it, not shouting, just holding it open. "Go ahead, Lorraine." And she did. No dramatic pause, no final look back, just the soft click of her heels down the hall, and the door closing on the life I thought I had. For the first few days after she left, the apartment felt hollow. Not empty, just stripped. Her perfume still clung to the hallway. A lone hair tie stayed forgotten on the bathroom sink. And the closet? Half full, but it may as well have been gutted. I kept thinking she might come back. Not to fix things, but to retrieve whatever dignity she thought she'd left behind. But she didn't. And I didn't reach out. Instead, I started doing something I hadn't done in years. I started living. I know that sounds cliché, but when someone chips away at your worth for long enough, you stop recognizing yourself. You become cautious, quiet, comfortable with silence, even when it's suffocating. But now I had no one left to make small for, no one to tiptoe around, so I started rebuilding. I took time off from freelance work and flew to visit my younger brother in Oregon, someone I hadn't seen in 4 years. We hiked, we talked, we laughed in a way that didn't feel forced. And one morning, watching the sunrise spill over the cliffs at Cannon Beach, I realized something painfully freeing. I hadn't lost Lorraine. I'd already lost her a long time ago. What I had lost was the illusion, the picture I kept holding onto of a life that wasn't real anymore. And now, without the weight of pretending, I felt light again, like myself. When I got back, I changed the locks, took down the wedding photo in the hallway, canceled the joint credit card. I boxed up her things and left them with a note that said, "I hope you find what you were looking for. I already have." And I meant it. It wasn't a new love that healed me. It wasn't revenge. It was remembering who I was before I started apologizing for things I didn't do. Before I accepted less because I believed I was too much. So yes, she betrayed me. Yes, it hurt like hell. But she also freed me. And now, I'm still standing. A little scarred, sure, but stronger, smarter, and wide open for a new beginning that belongs entirely to me. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. Now it's your turn. What's a surprising event from history that taught you something about strength, resilience, or unexpected endings? Let us know in the comments. Your story might just inspire someone else. And don't forget, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where every story has a truth, and sometimes a fresh start.